Welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Management Studies, SOMS, Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Management, PGDI-FM. Semester 2, MMPF 004 Security Analysis and Portfolio Management. Block 1 and Overview. Unit 4 Investment Theories. 4.1 Introduction. The validity of the assumption that the market price is not equal to the intrinsic value is questionable. The approach, called efficient market hypothesis, is based on the premise that current market price is a true reflection of the value of the securities, stocks, and hence it is futile to expect that fundamental or technical analysis will yield a superior return by identifying underpriced or overpriced stocks. Under efficient market hypothesis, investors can expect a return commensurate with the risk associated with such investments. Efficient market hypothesis was an issue that was the subject of intense debate among academics and finance professionals during the last 5 decades. The efficient market hypothesis states that at any given time, security prices fully reflect all available information. The implications of the efficient market hypothesis are truly profound. Most individuals who buy and sell securities, stocks in particular, do so under the assumption that the securities they are buying are worth more than the price that they are paying. While efficient and current prices fully reflect all information, then buying and selling securities in an attempt to outperform the market will effectively be a game of chance rather than skill. Under efficient, investors cannot outperform the market since there are numerous knowledgeable analysts and investors who would not allow the market price to deviate from the intrinsic value due to their active buying and selling. The current market price therefore reflects the intrinsic value at all time, and hence, there is no need for fundamental analysis or technical analysis. Empirically also, market prices have been observed to move randomly or independently. A net outcome of all this had been a good deal of confused surroundings of the efficient market model or random walk model. It is perhaps for the same reason that we still talk of efficient market hypothesis and not efficient market approach to equity investment decision. In this unit, you will learn the concepts and forms of market efficiency, some empirical tests of EMH and also the anomalies in EMH and the implications of EMH for security analysis and portfolio management. 4.2 Investment Theories. There are several investment theories that have been developed over time to guide investors in making investment decisions. Here are some of the most prominent ones. 1. Efficient market hypothesis, EMH. EMH was developed by Eugene Farmer in the 1960s. It suggests that financial markets are efficient, meaning that prices reflect all available information about a security. According to EMH, it is impossible to consistently outperform the market because all relevant information is already reflected in the stock price. 2. Random walk theory. The random walk theory is a mathematical model used to describe the behavior of financial markets, which suggests that the price movements of stocks, bonds, and other securities are random and unpredictable. 3. Modern portfolio theory, MPT. MPT was introduced by Harry Markowitz in 1952. It is based on the principle of diversification, which means that investors can reduce their portfolio risk by holding a mix of assets that are not perfectly correlated with each other. MPT suggests that investors should allocate their portfolio among different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, and cash, based on their risk tolerance and return objectives. 4. Value investing. Value investing is an investment approach popularized by Benjamin Graham and Warren Buffett. It involves buying undervalued stocks that are trading at a price lower than their intrinsic value. This approach requires a thorough analysis of a company's financial statements, balance sheet, and income statement. 5. Growth investing. Growth investing involves investing in companies that have high growth potential but may not be profitable yet. This approach is popular among investors who are willing to take on more risk in the hope of earning higher returns. 6. Behavioral finance. Behavioral finance is a relatively new field that combines finance and psychology. It suggests that investors are not always rational and can be influenced by biases and emotions. Behavioral finance tries to understand how these biases affect investment decisions and how to mitigate their effects. These are just a few of the many investment theories out there. Each theory has its own strengths and weaknesses, and investors should carefully consider which approach is best for their individual needs and goals. In this unit, we will concentrate on EMH and random walk theory. 4.3 Basic concept of market efficiency. The efficient market hypothesis was discovered by chance in 1953 by Morris Kendall Lew, a distinguished statistician. Kendall had been looking for regular price cycles, but to his surprise he could not find any. He came to a finding that there exists no pattern in the movement of share prices and that the change in prices is a random event. Initially, this result disturbed many economists because they interpreted the random behavior of stock prices as an outcome of erratic market psychology and it follows no logical rules. However, over a period of time, they started appreciating that in a well-functioning or efficient market, prices will indeed change randomly, reflecting the impact of new information. The efficient market hypothesis slowly evolved in the 1960s. Eugene Farmer persuasively made the argument that in an active market that includes many well-informed and intelligent investors, securities will be appropriately priced and reflect all available information. If a market is efficient, no information or analysis can be expected to result in outperformance of an appropriate benchmark. An efficient market is defined as a market where there are large numbers of rational profit maximizers actively competing, with each trying to predict future market values of individual securities, and where important current information is almost freely available to all participants. In an efficient market, competition among the many intelligent participants leads to a situation where, at any point in time, actual prices of individual securities already reflect the effects of information based both on events that have already occurred and on events which, as of now, the market expects to take place in the future. In other words, in an efficient market at any point in time, the actual price of a security will be a good estimate of its intrinsic value. William Sharpe stated that a perfectly efficient market is one in which every security price equals its market value at all times. An efficient capital market is a market that is efficient in processing information. The prices of securities observed at any time are based on correct evaluation of all information available at that time. In an efficient market, prices fully reflect all available information. The random walk theory asserts that price movements will not follow any patterns or trends and that past price movements cannot be used to predict future price movements. Much of the theory on these subjects can be owed to French mathematician Louis Bachelier. Bachelier came to the conclusion that the mathematical expectation of the speculator is zero, and he described this condition as a fair game. Market efficiency has implications for corporate managers as well as for investors. This takes a lot of the gamesmanship out of corporate management. If a market is efficient, it is difficult to fool the public for long. For instance, only genuine news can move the stock price. It is hard to pump up the stock price by claims that are not verifiable by investors. Fake news will not move the price, or if it does, the price will quickly revert to the pre-announcement value when the news proves hollow. Publicly available information is probably already impounded in the price. This is hard for some managers to believe. Rational investors seek to maximize returns at a given level of risk. If a security is underpriced, investors will quickly identify it and rush to pick it up. Competition for the underpriced security drives the price up. Hence, it would be difficult to consistently achieve superior performance. Most securities are correctly priced, and it should be possible to earn a normal return by randomly choosing securities of a given risk level. Notion of financial market efficiency is in fact akin to the concept of profit in a perfectly competitive market. Abnormal or excess profits in such a market are competed away. In an efficient market, new information is discounted as it arrives. Price instantaneously adjusts to a new and correct level. An investor cannot consistently earn abnormal profits by undertaking fundamental analysis to identify undervalued, overvalued securities, or by studying the behavior of share prices with a view to discerning definite patterns. Isolated instance of windfall gains from the stock market does not negate the theory that markets are efficient. Paradox of the efficient market is that it is efficient because of the organized and systematic efforts of thousands of analysts to evaluate intrinsic values. It ceases to be efficient the moment such efforts are abandoned by the investing community and analyst firms. Market prices will promptly and fully reflect what is known about the companies whose shares are traded only if investors seek superior returns and analyze information promptly and perceptively. If the efforts were abandoned, the efficiency of the market would diminish rapidly. In order for EMH to be true, it is necessary for many investors to disbelieve it. 4.4 Forms of market efficiency. Eugene Farmer gave 3 flavors to market efficiency, and subsequently all empirical testing has proceeded on these lines. These 3 forms have been discussed in detail as follows. A. Weak form of efficiency. The weak form means that the current prices of stock fully reflect all the information that is contained in the historical sequence of prices. Hence, abnormal profits cannot be earned by studying the past behavior of share prices. In other words, weak form of efficiency implies that you cannot make excess profits by trading on past trends. You may be surprised to note that a lot of people do exactly just that. They are called technical analysts or chartists. By implication, technical analysis that relies on charts of prices, moving averages and momentum and volume of trading is not a meaningful analysis for making abnormal trading profits if the markets are efficient in weak form. What would you do if your securities that they are selling are worth less than the selling price? What would you do if you noticed that every time the market went down by 1%, the next day on average, it went down again by 0.5%? If your answer is that you would buy on an up day and sell on a down day, you have the makings of an active technical trader and you are using a trading rule. Academics have been testing trading rules like this for almost 5 decades now, and traders have been exploiting them for even longer. The concept behind the simple rule described above is momentum. Although it is a widely used concept for technical investing, there is no evidence that any short-term market timing rule actually makes money. The reason for this is the following. What if everyone followed the same strategy? Wouldn't the opportunity go away? Further, you have to buy and sell stocks every day, and in doing so, you have to pay brokerage fees. Thus, while major patterns in stock prices should not exist, weak patterns that are too costly to arbitrage may persist. If these simple trends are arbitraged away, then the market will follow a random walk, i.e. past deviation from expected returns tell you nothing about future deviations from expected returns. A weak form efficient market is one in which past security prices are impounded into current prices. Since past prices are deemed public information, weak form of efficiency implies semi-strong form of efficiency. And semi-strong form efficiency implies strong form efficiency. B. Semi-strong form of efficiency. How about all public information? That is, all information available in annual reports, news clippings, gossip columns and so on? If the market price impounds all of this information, the market is then called semi-strong form efficient. Most people believe that the US equity markets by and large reflect publicly available information, but one has to consider certain things. Whether the information placed on the internet is public, are government files available under the Freedom of Information Act public? There must be subtle shades of semi-strong market efficiency, but they are not typically differentiated. Each new piece of information an analyst gathers should be carefully considered with regard to whether it is already impounded in the stock price. The easier it was to get, the more likely it is to have already been traded upon. Semi-strong form strikes at the very heart of the analyst profession. Tests of semi-strong have dealt with the speed at which market participants react to public releases of new information. Empirical evidence generally supports the contention that the public reacts quickly to information, but there is also some evidence that the market does not always digest new information correctly. C. Strong form of efficiency. This represents the extreme case of market efficiency. What kind of information is impounded in the stock price? It turns out that there are lots of different levels of market efficiency, depending upon the source or the information being impounded. The best way to illustrate this is through example. Suppose you had a hyper-efficient market that impounded all private information. This means that even a personal note passed between the CEO and the CFO regarding a major financial decision would suddenly impact the stock price. If so, this is called strong form efficiency. Few people believe that the market is strong form efficient, but it is nice to have this benchmark. To test the strong form, three groups of investors having potential access to private information can be examined. These are A. Corporate insiders, B. Stock exchange specialists, C. Mutual funds. 4.5 Empirical tests of EMH. What is the degree of efficiency witnessed in the stock market? Is it efficient, of the weak form or semi-strong form or strong form? In order to be able to answer these questions, certain empirical tests have been devised. This section would discuss in detail some of the tests used. Tests of weak form. Weak form efficiency should be the simplest type of efficiency to prove, and for a time it was widely accepted that the US stock market was at least weak form efficient. Recall that weak form efficiency only requires that you cannot make money using past price history of a stock or index to make excess profits. Recall the intuition that if people know that the price will rise tomorrow, then they will bid the price up today in order to capture the profit. Researchers have been testing weak form of efficiency using daily information since the 1950s, and typically they have found some daily price patterns, e.g. momentum. However, it appears difficult to exploit these short-term patterns to make money. Interestingly, as you increase the horizon of the return, there seems to be evidence of profits through trading, buying stocks that went down over the last 2 weeks and selling those that went up appears to have been profitable. When you really increase the horizons, stock returns look even more predictable. Eugene Farmer and Ken French, for instance, found some evidence that 4-year returns tend to revert towards the mean. Unfortunately, this is a difficult rule to trade on with any confidence, since the cycles are so long that in fact, they are as long as the patterns conjectured by Charles Henry Dow some 100 years ago. Does this all lend credence to the chartists, who look for cryptic patterns in security prices? Perhaps. But in all likelihood there is no easy money in charting, either. Prices for widely traded securities are pretty close to a random walk, and if they were not, then they would quickly become so. As arbitrageurs moved in to buy the stock when it is underpriced and short, sell it when it is overpriced. But who knows, maybe a retired rocket scientist playing around with fractal geometry and artificial intelligence will hit upon something. Of course, if he did, it wouldn't become common knowledge, at least for a while. There have been empirical tests of weak form market efficiency for equities, bonds and futures contracts. Random walk hypothesis suggests that even bond price changes should be essentially random or unpredictable. Tests of weak form efficiency. 2 groups of tests have been formulated by researchers to test the weak form of EMH. One approach looks for statistically significant patterns in security price changes. Another approach searches for profitable short-term trading rules, serial independence, filter rules, run tests and distribution pattern. Tests for weak form are described below. A. Statistical tests of independence. EMH contends that security returns over time should be independent of one another because new information comes to market in a random, independent fashion and security prices adjust rapidly to this new information. Does return of day t correlate with day t1, tn? 3 major statistical tests have been used to verify this independence. One is the autocorrelation test, the other is the run test, and the third is the distribution pattern. I. Serial independence, autocorrelation. Autocorrelation measures the significance of the positive or negative correlation in return over time. Does the rate of return on day correlate with the rate of return on day t1 or t2 or t3? If the capital market is believed to be efficient, then one should expect insignificant correlation for all combinations. Randomness. in stock price movements can be tested by calculating the correlation between price changes in one period and changes for the same stock in another period. If the autocorrelation is close to zero, the price changes are said to be serially independent. This is tested for over short periods, 1 to 4 days, even 9 to 16 days. Farmer, for instance, calculated the autocorrelation for the period 1958 to 1962 for US stock prices. The autocorrelation was found to be insignificant. A similar analysis is done for the BSE Sensitive Index, Sensex, and few other stocks for the period from April 1997 to March 2001 using the daily index value, and the results show that the serial or autocorrelation values between the returns of various lags are very low and statistically insignificant except in a few cases. A very low autocorrelation provides some evidence that Indian market is also showing efficiency at weak form, and hence any analysis on historical price data is of little use. One of the main reasons for achieving weak form of efficiency is creating an environment for active trading and reducing the transaction cost. These two actions will attract a large number of investors to trade and bring some level of efficiency in the market. Runs tests confirm efficiency. Price changes may be random most of the time, but occasionally become serially correlated for varying period of time. Further, serial correlation coefficients can be affected by extreme values. To overcome these problems, the run test is used. Run tests ignore the absolute values of the numbers in the series and observe only their signs. Given a series of price changes, each price change is either designated a plus if it is an increase in price or a minus if it is a decrease in price. The result is a set of pluses and minuses just like this. Dot. A run occurs when two consecutive price changes are the same, two or more consecutive positive or negative price changes constitute one run. For example, has 3 runs. When the price changes in a different direction then, such as a negative price change is followed by a positive price change, the run ends and a new run begins. The actual number of runs observed is compared with the number that are expected from a series of randomly generated price changes. If no significant differences are found, then price changes are random in character. Studies that have examined the stock price runs have confirmed the independence of stock price changes over time. The actual number of runs for stock price series consistently fell over the range expected. For a random series, distribution pattern, the sum or the distribution of random occurrences will statistically conform to a normal distribution. If proportionate price changes are randomly generated events, then their distribution should be approximately normal. Farmer has tested for normal distribution and found only slight difference from the normal. Studies have also been undertaken on technical trading strategies based on information other than historical prices, such as odd lot figures, volume of short sales, advanced decline ratios, chart pattern, etc. The general conclusion is that such strategies have failed to outperform a naive buy and hold strategy. B. Tests of trading rules. The statistical tests of independence were too rigid to identify the intricate price patterns examined by technical analysis. Technical analysis do not accept a set number of positive or negative price changes as a signal of a move to a new equilibrium in the market. They typically look for a general consistency in the price and volume trends over time. Such a trend might include both positive and negative changes. For this reason, technical analysts felt that their trading rules were too sophisticated and complicated to be simulated by rigid statistical tests. Advocates of EMH hypothesized that investors could not derive profit above a buy and hold policy or abnormal profits using any trading rule that depended solely on any past market information about factors such as price, volume, odd lot shares or specialist activity. Filters can be prescribed for trading as follows. A share price is increasing and a 20% filter has been set. Suppose it starts declining, and when it reaches a level 20% below its peak, it is a sell signal. Similarly, if the share is declining in price and it reverses its trend and level, then it is a buy signal. By using such buy and sell signals, using filters ranging from 1 to 50%, several studies found that it was not possible to earn abnormal returns. Studies of this trading rule have a range of filters from 0.5% to 50%. The results indicated that small filters would yield above average profits before taking account of trading commissions. However, some filters generate numerous trades and therefore substantial trading costs. When these trading commissions were considered, all the trading profits turned to losses. Alternatively, larger filters did not yield returns above those of a simple buy and hold strategy. On a before transaction cost basis, these trading rules do appear to work, but there is no evidence that you can profitably trade on this. When transaction costs are included, the profitability disappears. Researchers have generated other trading rules that used past market data. Other than stock prices, trading rules have been devised that use odd lot figures, advanced decline ratios, short sales, short positions, and specialist activities. These simulation tests have generated mixed results. Most of the early studies suggested that these trading rules generally would not outperform a buy and hold policy on a risk-adjusted basis after taking account of commissions, while a couple of studies have indicated support for the specific trading rules. Therefore, most evidence from simulation of specific trading rules indicate that these trading rules have not been able to beat a buy in IPOs, seasoned equity offerings, and stock buybacks. Numerous studies have concluded that initial public offerings, IPOs, in aggregate underperform the market, and there is also evidence that secondary offerings also underperform. Several recent studies have also documented arguably related market inefficiencies. Stock repurchases, on the other hand, can be viewed as the opposite of stock issues, and studies have shown that firms announcing stock repurchases outperform in the following years. This evidence seems to confirm the theory that managers tend to have inside information regarding the value of their company's stock, and their decisions whether to issue or buy back their stock may signal over or undervaluation. The implication of these studies seems to be that investors may do better buying stocks of firms that are repurchasing their own stock rather than from firms that are selling or issuing more of their own stock. Insider transactions. There have been many studies that have documented a relationship between transactions by executives and directors in their firms' stock and the stock's performance. Insider buying by more than one insider is considered by many to be a signal that the insiders believe the stock is significantly undervalued and their belief that the stock will outperform accordingly in the future. However, many researchers question whether the gains are significant and whether they will occur in the future. Investors should ask. This question is relevant for you as an investor and also for the fund managers who invest in securities, promising the naive investors to pay a handsome return on their investment. This they could do only by outperforming the market. If your answer is no, and if you believe the market is efficient, then passive investing or indexing, buying diversified portfolios of all the securities in an asset class, is probably the way to go. The arguments for such an approach include reduced costs, tax efficiency, and the fact that historically, passive funds have outperformed the majority of active funds. But if your answer is yes, it is possible to beat the market, then you should pursue active portfolio management. Among the arguments for this approach are the possibility that there are a variety of anomalies in securities markets that we have discussed in the earlier sections that can be exploited to outperform passive investments, the likelihood that some companies can be pressured by investors to improve their performance, and the fact that many investors and managers have outperformed passive investing for long periods of time. But the active investor must still face the challenge of outperforming a passive strategy. Essentially, there are two sets of decisions. The first is asset allocation, where you carve up your portfolio into different proportions of equities, bonds, and other instruments. Decisions, often referred to as market timing, as investors try to reallocate between equities and bonds in response to their expectations of better relative returns in the TO market, tend to require macro forecasts of broad-based market movements. The second set of decisions includes security selection, picking particular stocks or bonds. These decisions require micro forecasts of individual securities underpriced by the market and hence offering the opportunity for better than average returns. Active investing involves being overweight in securities in sectors that you believe to be undervalued and underweight in assets you believe to be overvalued. Buying a stock, for example, is effectively an active investment that can be measured against the performance of the overall market. Compared to passive investing in a stock index, buying an individual stock combines an asset allocation to stocks and an active investment in that stock in the belief that it will outperform the stock index. In both market timing and security selection decisions, investors may use either technical or fundamental analysis and growth investing. And you can be right in your asset allocation and wrong in your active security selection and vice versa. There could be two important implications of EMH for portfolio selection. These are: 1. Even simple random selection leads to portfolio, which approximates the market very closely when 15 to 20 stocks are held. 2. Index funds are an outgrowth of the increasing awareness and acknowledgement of market efficiency. Nobel laureate William Sharpe makes a simple yet powerful case against active management in his article, The Arithmetic of Active Management. If active and passive management styles are defined in sensible ways, it must be the case that 1. Before costs, the return on the average actively managed dollar will equal the return on the average passively managed dollar, and 2. After costs, the return on the average actively managed dollar will be less than the return on the average passively managed dollar. These assertions will hold for any time period. Ambitious investors and investment managers almost all want to beat the market, but it is worth asking, why should they want to beat it for you? Why should precious insights into the nature of the market be available for sale to the general public, either directly through a fund or indirectly, perhaps through a book advocating a particular investment technique as the route to outperformance? If an investment technique is so good, it would seem to make more sense to keep its secrets to yourself. 4.8 Random Walk Theory. According to the random walk theory, asset price changes are unpredictable. This indicates that because stock values fluctuate erratically, it is impossible to reliably anticipate future prices using data from the past. The stock market is said to be efficient and reflect all available information, according to the random walk theory. The notion that traders can time the market or use technical analysis to spot and capitalize on patterns or trends in stock prices is challenged by a random walk. Some traders and analysts who think that stock values may be forecasted using different techniques, like technical analysis, have criticized random walk. Features of random walk theory. According to the random walk theory, X stock prices are arbitrary, and as a result, a stock prices or a market's historical movement or trend cannot be used to forecast its future movement. Markets cannot be outperformed without additional risk. Fundamental analysis is deemed unreliable because of the frequently subpar information gathered and its susceptibility to misunderstanding. Investment advisors don't significantly improve an investor's portfolio concept. Since the beginning of time, economists have maintained that asset prices are largely random and unpredictable, and that historical price movements have little to no bearing on future changes. In fact, this was a foundational tenet of the efficient market hypothesis, EMH. According to the random walk theory, stock prices accurately reflect all information that is currently accessible and swiftly adapt to new knowledge, making it hard to act on it. The semi-strong efficient hypothesis, which contends that it is hard to continually outperform the market, is congruent with economist Burton Malkiel's idea. The idea has significant ramifications for investors in that it suggests that the greatest long-term investing strategy may be to buy and hold a diverse portfolio. Malkiel's 1973 book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, popularized the random walk hypothesis. Malkiel contends in the book that trying to timing or beat the market or predicting stock prices using fundamental or technical research is a waste of time and can result in underperformance. Instead, he contends that buyers and holders of wide index funds would be better off The random walk theory is still a widely accepted concept in the field of financial economics, despite opposition from those who think there are practical ways to predict stock values and beat them. Investors can concentrate on long-term planning and avoid making snap judgments based on short-term market fluctuations by acknowledging that stock prices are unpredictable and efficient. In the end, random walk theory serves as a reminder to investors of the value of maintaining discipline, patience, and concentration on their long-term investment objectives. 4.9 Summary. In this unit, we have discussed various dimensions of the hypothesis that the stock markets are efficient. We have highlighted the concept and forms of market efficiently with weak form, semi-strong form and strong form. We have also described various empirical tests of EMH. The unit also discusses the implications of EMH for security analysis and portfolio management. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.